Picture this. You're at a family gathering, maybe Thanksgiving, maybe a birthday, maybe just a random Sunday dinner. And depending on where you are financially, that gathering feels completely different. The conversations are different. The way people look at you is different. The questions they ask or don't ask are different. When you're broke, family gatherings feel heavy. When you're doing okay, they feel cautious. When you start actually building wealth, they get complicated in ways nobody warned you about. And when you reach real money, we're talking multiple millions, the dynamic shifts in ways that can feel genuinely isolating. Here's what most people don't realize. Money doesn't just change your bank account. It changes every relationship around you, especially family, because family is the one group that knew you before the money. And that history, that before, makes the relationship with money and status inside a family uniquely complicated in ways that no financial advisor ever tells you about. Today, I want to walk through what actually happens, psychologically, relationally, practically, at every level of wealth, from 0 to 10 million, because understanding these dynamics doesn't just satisfy curiosity, it prepares you for what's coming as you build, and it explains a lot about what might already be happening around you right now. My name is Jack. If you're someone who's noticed that money changes relationships in ways nobody talks about openly, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Let's start at the beginning. Level 1. $0 to $5,000. The invisible stage. At this level, family dynamics are mostly shaped by shared struggle. If everyone around you is also broke, there's a certain solidarity. Nobody expects anything from you because nobody has anything to give. The financial conversations, when they happen, are usually about survival, how to cover rent, whether to ask for help, who borrowed what from whom, and whether it's ever coming back. The psychological research on this stage is interesting. Studies from the American Psychological Association on financial stress found that low-income family environments often create what researchers call financial enmeshment, where individual financial decisions become collective concerns. Your financial situation isn't really yours alone. It belongs to the family system, which sounds supportive, but often isn't, because it means your choices get questioned, your spending gets commented on, and your attempts to save or get ahead can be quietly undermined by people who need you to stay in the same place they are. This is the stage where someone in the family getting a little extra income suddenly becomes the person everyone calls when money is tight. You got a tax refund? Suddenly 3 cousins need help. You picked up extra hours at work. Suddenly you're buying the family dinner. The moment you have even slightly more than nothing, the system notices, and it starts pulling. Level 2. $5,000 to $50,000. The noticing stage. This is where things start getting interesting. You've built some savings. Maybe you paid off debt. Maybe you got a better job or a raise. You're not wealthy by any definition, but you're noticeably more stable than you were. And family notices. The treatment at this stage splits in 2 directions depending on the family. Some families become genuinely proud, the first person to build savings, to own a car outright, to not panic about an unexpected bill. That person becomes a quiet source of hope. People point to you. They ask you questions. There's respect mixed into the dynamic that wasn't there before. But another pattern shows up at this stage too. Resentment. Subtle, mostly unspoken, but present. Research from Cornell University studying wealth dynamics within families found that economic divergence between siblings or cousins, where one person starts pulling ahead financially, creates measurable tension even when the amounts are modest. The person moving ahead gets labeled as lucky rather than disciplined. Their choices get second-guessed. Their success becomes evidence that they think they're better than everyone else, even when they've never said or done anything to suggest that. At this stage, the loan requests begin. Not emergency loans, lifestyle loans. Help me with rent this month. Can you cover this bill until I get paid? Can I borrow a few hundred? And here's the complicated psychology of it. Saying yes keeps the peace, but often creates a one-sided dynamic that never corrects itself. Saying no, even politely, can permanently alter how certain family members see you. You become selfish. You became different when you got money. You forgot where you came from. None of that is fair, but it is real. Level 3. $50,000 to $500,000. The assumption stage. Now you're in a different category. Maybe you've invested consistently for years. Maybe you bought a home. Maybe you have a business. Whatever the path, the family can see the gap now, and assumptions start forming around that gap. The assumption that you'll cover certain expenses at family events. The assumption that you'll help if things get hard enough. The assumption that your financial success was partly built on something the family provided. A loan they gave you years ago, a connection they made, the free rent you had at 22, and therefore you owe a portion of your success back into the family system. Psychologists call this the return on investment expectation. Families that invested in someone, emotionally, practically, financially, sometimes develop an unconscious belief that they are entitled to returns on that investment as the person's wealth grows. It's rarely stated directly. It lives in the passive comments. "You're doing so well, must be nice. We helped you out when you needed it." Family helps family. At this stage, holidays become financially complicated. Weddings become negotiations. Parents start having conversations about fairness between siblings that involve your name and your bank account in ways that make your stomach drop. And the friends within the family, the cousins you were closest to, sometimes start creating distance, not because of anything said, just because the financial gap has created a social gap that neither of you quite knows how to bridge. This is also the stage where genuinely good family members start asking for real advice, not loans, guidance. How did you do it? What should I invest in? How do I get started? And navigating that with grace. Being helpful without becoming the family financial advisor for every relative requires a kind of emotional intelligence that nobody teaches you. Level 4, $500,000 to $2 million, the mythology stage. At this level, the money has become large enough that it takes on a life of its own in family conversations. People who don't actually know your net worth start assuming numbers that are usually higher than reality. You become a character in family stories. The one who made it, the one who figured it out. The family mythology around wealth does something strange. It simultaneously elevates you and isolates you. You get more respect at the table. Your opinions carry more weight. When you speak, people listen in a way they didn't when you were at level 1. But the closeness changes. People stop being fully honest with you because they don't want to seem like they're asking for something. They start performing comfort around you, pretending everything is fine, because they don't want to trigger a conversation that might end in them feeling judged for their choices. Research from Boston College's Center on Wealth and Philanthropy studying high net worth families found that social isolation within family networks increases significantly as wealth reaches the mid-seven-figure range. Not because wealthy people push family away, but because the dynamic shifts in ways that make authentic connection harder to maintain without deliberate effort from both sides. At this stage, inheritance conversations begin. Parents start making comments about fairness. Siblings who have made different financial choices start becoming vocal about what they feel is their share. And you find yourself in the strange position of being both the most financially secure person in the family and the one carrying the most complicated emotional weight around money. Level 5, $2 million to $10 million, the separation stage. At this level, the gap between you and most of your family of origin is simply too large to ignore. The life you live, the neighborhood, the schools your kids attend, the vacations, the way you handle a $5,000 expense as a minor inconvenience is incomprehensible to people who are still living paycheck to paycheck, not because they're less intelligent or less hardworking, just because the financial reality is structurally different in ways that create a different lived experience. Family interactions at this level require active management in a way they never did before. You have to decide consciously how much to share, how much to help without creating dependency, how to show up at a family event without your presence becoming the event, how to maintain real relationships with people whose daily concerns you no longer share. The psychology research on ultra-high net worth family dynamics is consistent on one point. The families that maintain genuine closeness across large wealth gaps are the ones where the wealthy member makes consistent, deliberate effort to stay connected to the human experience of the people around them, not through money, through presence, through remembering what it felt like to be at level 1, through having conversations about things that have nothing to do with finance. And the families that fracture at this level almost always fracture over one of 3 things: inheritance disputes, loan requests that went wrong, or the slow accumulation of moments where the wealthy family member made someone feel small, usually without realizing it. What this actually means for you, here's the honest takeaway from all of this. Money changes relationships, not because people are shallow, though some are, but because money is tied to identity, security, and status in ways that activate deep psychological responses in everyone around you. The people who navigate these dynamics best are not the ones who hide their success, and they're not the ones who use their success to control or rescue the people around them. They're the ones who stay anchored to who they were before the money, while building deliberately toward who they want to become. Set limits on financial help that you can sustain without resentment. Be honest about your boundaries before situations force the conversation. Stay genuinely curious about the lives of the people around you, even when the financial gap feels wide. Because here's the thing about family and money. The money is just a number. The relationships are what you'll actually be thinking about when you're sitting at a table decades from now. Build the wealth, but don't let the wealth build walls where you needed windows. If this video gave you language for something you felt but couldn't quite name, hit the subscribe button, give this a thumbs up, and comment below. Which level are you at right now? And how has your family dynamic around money changed as you've grown? I want to know, because you're probably not as alone in this as it feels.